Now coming to day number 2, the first we learned about MVT architecture. It was MVC. How MVT? T here stands for template. Model remains the same, view remains the same. Template means front end of the project, which has HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So these 3 files basically means the template part, and Django is being used to make a full stack project, front end plus back end. So since we are using Django framework, so we are calling it as an MVT architecture because we are dealing with both front end as well as back end. Second point, understanding REST API. What is API? API basically means application programming interface, and API works as a bridge between the front end and the back end. How? Front end and back end can interact with each other with the help of this API. API, what it will do? It will take the request from the front end and it will go to the back end. Again, it will take the response from the front end. It will go to the back end, and it will go to the front end. So the interaction between front end and back end, back end is done with this API. So API acts like a bridge. And REST API means that an API is following REST architecture. What does REST architecture means? REST architecture means that the first point, that it is a web API. REST means web. Second point, it will be dealing with HTTP methods like get, post, put, delete, etc. Third, that whenever request and response will be transmitted from backend to front end to backend, it will be in JSON format, JavaScript object notation. And fourthly, that token system will be used, no sessions will be used, tokens will be used. So this was all about REST architecture, and the API is REST API. The next step was data modeling. Data modeling was done in models.py. Models.py, where we created tables, our tables, the structure of the tables, the attributes of the tables, the table name, attributes, type, and the constants. All this data modeling will be done inside models.py. Now we will be starting the coding part. We have created our project. We have our app ready. Now we will go on VS Code. We will be selecting our project folder. Let's open the VS Code. We will select our folder which we created just now, that is Bootcamp. And we will open this folder. I will extend the LMS project, the courses, and the LMS. Okay. So the first step, we will go to settings.py. Within settings.py, what we will do? The first step, let us go to the VS Code. We will reach settings.py. Here you can see we have the name installed apps. I will zoom it out. This installed apps. Now, within this installed apps, we have created our app named courses. We will mention within installed app the same courses and separated with a comma because it is a list. So every element will be separated with a comma. Save. All done with this. So settings.py is done. Next, we will go to models.py. Models.py will be containing all the tables, all the attribute names, all those modeling, data modeling will be done inside models.py. So I have already written models.py. I will be explaining the core objective of this Python file. Here we will be creating 2 tables. One will be for users and the another one will be for course table. Users table will contain all the information related to the user and the user type. User type is very important because on our LMS, 2 types of user can only join, either teacher or student. So user type will contain whether the user is a teacher or a student. So we are creating this LMS user. Here we are creating a table because we are dealing with Django Python language. So we will be creating a table in Python language. Here we will be creating classes for creating models, and we are giving the table name as LMS user. Then you can see that models.model is the inheritance part. We are inheriting the model class of the models Python file. Then within this LMS user, we have the fields like user ID, username, email, gender, number, password, and user type. So, and here you can see auto field, this auto field, char field, email field, these are all types of attributes. And the primary key, unique, null, blank, all these are constants of the table. So all this we are doing using a programming language and not using raw SQL queries. Now within the user type, you can see here one parameter is choices, where we are passing user type data. Here we have defined the user type data, which can be either only 2 entries can be done, either teacher or student. So the choices are restricted to 2, no third option. This is all about LMS user table. Now the next is upload. Courses upload. Courses table will have the course ID, the course name, the course description, created at the date of creation, playlist which will include all the courses playlist, duration, and username, which is a foreign key. which user created that course, which user uploaded that course. So that will act as a foreign key. Any teacher will upload a course. So we need the ID of that particular teacher from where? The ID or the name of that particular teacher from the user table. So it will act as a foreign key. You can see here on delete cascade. What this parameter will do, whenever a user will be deleted from the user table, if the user is deleted, then why its courses will be there. When user will be deleted from the base table, then all his courses will be deleted from the course table. So on delete cascade is used for that. Now this was all about models.py. Now I will just copy this entire code and I will paste it on VS Code inside models.py. So VS Code models.py, I will just paste it here. I will save this file. We are done with settings.py. We are done with models.py. Let us come to the next part, which are url.py. Now, point to be noted that here we will have two URL files. One will be for the main project, which is already built in. urls.py will contain the URL of all the it will contain all the endpoints which will be hit by the user. Now, since it is of the main project and we know that within a project we can have multiple apps. So for particular apps, we will be creating a new file url.py for app, because to prevent ambiguity, to prevent URL conflict, because there can be multiple apps and multiple apps can have same type of URL. So if we mention all this in the main project URL, then it will have URL conflict. So to avoid that, we will be making a separate URL file for each of the app. But we have to make a change in the URL file, main URL file. We will include a path. Which path? That courses, which is our app, and we will be creating a URL file in the courses. We will tell that we have included a URL file in our app courses. So I will copy this code over here. I will go to the VS Code and within url.py, I will paste the path here. All done. Now it is showing an error, include. I have to just include this library. Now you can see the error has vanished. I will save. Done with the main url.py. Now what to do next? I will create a url.py, separate url.py for the app. So I will select the app, which is courses. I will right click on the app, new file, and the file name is urls.py. This is for the app. Let's go to the notepad. So urls.py for the app. Here it will contain all the URLs that will be hit by the user on the front end. User can sign up, get all the user, update, delete. So we will be working on 4 APIs: post API, get API, update API, that is put API, and delete API. So we have 4 endpoints for the 4 APIs. We will be dealing with all the 4 APIs. So understood. Now for here in the path function, the first part we have the endpoint. You can call it a router. Then the second part is views.lms sign up user as view. This means that this is the business logic part, which means that from the views we have the LMS sign up user. That is from the views.py we have a class and we are calling that class LMS sign up user of views.py. If user hits this URL sign up, it will automatically call LMS sign up user from views.py. So I will just copy all the URLs over here and I will go to the VS Code and within the app url.py, apps url.py, which I just created, new app, and I will be pasting it here. Done. Now I will save this file. We are done with the apps url.py. Next, the main and the very important Python file is serializers.py. If we are performing the post API, or say we are performing the put API, when a new user is to be registered, we need some user inputs, right, from the user side. We need his name, his ID, and some fields which we require from the user side. So that inputs from the user will be brought by the serializer. Serializer will bring all the user input and it will give to the views.py, that is the business logic. So to bring all the user input, we need a serializer py and we need user inputs in 2 cases, whether to create a new user post API or to update something. If we want to update, say, email, then we want a condition part. Which email to upload, which email to update. We need a required field to filter which email to update. So we need email and say we will require a field like number of the user where we will perform the updation part. So these all are done by the serializer. I will just Serializer is the same syntax as models.py. We will require username, email, number, password, gender, user type from the users, and within the update, we will require email and number. Now I will just copy everything from here. I will go to VS Code and I will make a file, new file within app courses. I will make a new file named serializers.py. And within this, we will paste everything here. Now here is an error REST framework. Because we have not installed Django REST framework library. So we need to install it. Let's go to the command prompt. We have to write pip install Django REST framework. So it has been installed, Django REST framework, and you can see that the error has vanished. So all done with serializer.py. Now the next part, after serializer.py, we have the next part as views.py, which is very important. All the main backbone of our project is views.py. All the business logic will be performed here. Views.py will be interacting with two Python files, serializer and models. From serializer, it will take the user input. It will validate the user input. And then it will send the data, send the request to the models.py. From models.py, it will take a response and then it will send back to the serializer.py. So it is interacting with both the files simultaneously. So views.py is very important as it will be calling both serializer as well as model. So step number 5 is to reach views.py, and within views.py, let's see what is views.py. Within views.py, we have the above 5 points which are header files. Understanding all the header files, the first header file is of API view. This is for writing all the classes which will be written inside views.py and it will be converted to HTTP methods. Second header file is JSON response. JSON response is to convert the request and the response into JSON format. And the third is status, to check the status of the query. Whether if it is performing a query, then the status, whether it is a successful, any error. So it is useful for developers to check the status, whether their code is successfully running or giving an error and so on. Then the last 2 lines, you can see we have imported everything. We have imported everything from models and serializer, because I already mentioned that views.py will be interacting with 2 files, models and serializer. So we need to import all the classes and everything from models and serializer. So coming to views.py, we will be dealing with 4 API methods: post, get, put and delete. Post will be for creating a new record. So we need a record. We need a user entry. For user entry, we will be calling a serializer, which we have already built. Serializer will take user input. Now it will validate whether the user data is correct or not, whether user has entered everything we needed or not. Then after validating, you can see that lms user.objects.create. LMS user was our model, our table in models.py. We are creating a new record and we are passing as a parameter the user data. User data is passed as a parameter. This is a keyword argument because we are passing the entire dictionary, a sequence of values, key value pair. So double star means that it is a keyword argument. The next, as the user is entered, we have to give a message that user created successfully to the front end. So user is created successfully is the message, and this will be sent using JSON response, and we will set the status as 201 created for the developers. Otherwise, if the user data is not valid, what it will return? It will return error code, and then the status will be set as 400, which is a bad request. This was all about post API. Coming to the get API, we have to do we have to fetch all the users which are on our LMS. So to fetch all the users, we need filter, we need a where clause, and within the where clause, we don't need anything because we require all the users. So we need a list of users from the user table, and using the filter dot values, which means it will filter all the users and it will return all the values of the users which are on our LMS. And then it will return a JSON response and it will set the status as 200 OK. Safe equals to false is done here because we are returning a large amount of data. So this is done to avoid any error. Next, this was all about get API. The next we have the put API. Within put API, we are updating a record. We are updating a user. So if we are updating a user, we know the syntax of update query in SQL, in MySQL. We are setting it update, table name, set, attribute name, and where clause with a condition. What is that condition? We need a attribute where we will make the changes. Which attribute we will need? We will need an attribute. Say we will need the user phone number, and we will require email of the user where the updation is to be done. So we are updating the email, and we are updating the email on the basis of the phone number. So we will perform the update query as LMS user, which is the table name object dot filter. Now here we are performing the filter operation based on the number, and what we are updating the email. So in the update we are giving the email. After updating, we are giving the message that email has been updated successfully. So return the JSON response message status, set the status as HTTP 200 OK. If the updation has been done, so we will set the status as 200 OK. Otherwise, if the updation is not done, if the updation is failed, so we will return error, and the error message will be 400 bad requests. So it was all about update query. Then we will have the delete query. The delete query will be to delete a particular user, right? So we will be deleting a user and we will be passed which user to delete. The delete can be performed both based on a serializer and without using a serializer. We are performing delete operation without using a serializer. So we will pass in the URL the phone number of the user which we want to delete. Filter operation will be performed of the number we want to delete, the user we want to delete. Dot delete which will be the function used to delete the user. And when this user will be deleted, then return the message that user has been deleted successfully. And this JSON response will be returned and the status will be set as 204 no content for the developers. This was all about the views.py, and we will just copy the entire code from here, views.py. We will reach the VS code, and within the views.py we will paste the entire code. I will save this, and we are done with views.py. All the 4 APIs: post, get, put and delete. Now we are done with all the Python files. So views.py was our last